All right, so let's test out these route providers and see how they work. So here's our initial component, my app component, which is going to load immediately. It has the tasks component directive inside of it. There's a tag. And here's the tasks component that has inside of it the task service. And this is simply just loading the task service provider. The task service provider. And then we have it just loop through all the tasks here. So again, let's look at our HTML. Very similar to what we had before. Go back, and now let's add these routes so we can kind of separate out different parts of our application. So first off, we do need to import the libraries for routes. So I'm going to use here a little snippet that has the routes. So we need route config, the route providers, and route directives. Now that I have those, let's go to the component that we want to load two different pages, which is going to be our initial app component. So we'll change a few things here. First off, let's add the directives. We need the directives here. There we go. Oops, router directives, excuse me. There we are. Let's add the providers, router providers. I always get those mixed up.
Yeah, it's one of those little things.
Totally.
It gets me too.
Awesome. So we have those on there. Let's add also, if you remember, we needed rules to define which one is going to load when. So let's do that here. Let's add the route config, and I'm just going to give it a pattern here. So what do I want my path to look like? So when I switch to the tasks, I want it to go to website.com/tasks, and this route is going to be called tasks, cleverly. And the component I want to load when this is selected is which component. In this case, I want the tasks component to load. So I'm going to put the component here and specify that I want the task component to load when that happens. And use as default, true, false, true. Let's have initially this be the one that loads. So let's change this up a little bit. And let's add on here the links, right? So let's create a link here. Let's see, a tag, let's put the href as we saw here earlier. Let's use the router link here. And in here is where we're going to put the brackets and specify the name of the route that we want to invoke to essentially be selected. So in this case, the name is tasks. So I'm going to use a tasks name right there. Let's close this, and let's give this a tag some text so we can see it. Let's just say tasks. Simple. All right. So go back up here real quick. So we have our imports. That's great. We have our router directives, we have our router providers, we've specified the tag to select tasks to load. It's going to load immediately anyways, but we really have not specified where this is going to load. So let's do that next. Let's put on here the router outlet. And this is pretty much going to be where whichever component we choose by clicking on the A tag, that's the component that's going to load here in the router outlet. There's one more thing we want to do is we want to let Angular know where is our base root directory for this app. So we're actually going to go to our index.html file and make sure that we have the base href tag put on here in the very top. It can be right in the head tag. Just lets Angular know where to start the routing from. Awesome. Go back to main.ts. Let's save this. Let's take a look at where we're at real quick. And here it is. It actually loaded. If you notice, we can see the task component load and immediately. And every time I click this, even the URL is changed to tasks, right? Now, if I go back to my code, if you notice, I no longer have the tasks directive there. I just have the route outlet directive there, which is loading this task component here because this is what is selected as a default. So now let's add one more so we can see it separate between the two. So we'll put a comma here. We'll actually just copy paste this for speed here. We'll make this called other as the route. We'll give this a name of other, and we'll create a component called other component. Let's not give both default true because that would not make sense. There we are, no comma at the end there. There we go. So now we are assuming you have another component called other component. So let's make that component up top here, right before tasks. I'm going to add another component. So let's use a little snippet real quick, and the selector is going to be other. The template, we're just going to put here an h3 tag, and we're just going to say other component. There we are. And the name of this class is going to be other component. There we go. That's it. So let's see if we can load this first. So let's copy this. Let's go down over here. And where we have this href, we're going to do the same thing, but as opposed to tasks, we're going to choose the name of other, because we indicated here in our route config that here are two possible routes. One is called tasks, one is called other. So we make sure we have both A tags here. And depending on which one I click on, it will select either this this route config or this route config. And that will change my URL to what I have here for path. And it'll also load the component that I specified here. So
don't forget to update your link text.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That would look much nicer if we have two different.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that it's really just simply HTML that you're putting in there, that it's just simply anchor, and then you're specifying this is the name of the route. Yeah. And obviously you could then change the path. As long as the name doesn't change, you're good.
Exactly. Exactly. Awesome. So let's take a look at this. Let's click on other, and here we go. We loaded the other component, and our route changed. We click between task and other. If you notice, it's super fast, and that's really partially because the only thing that changes is the content in the router outlet. Excuse me. So this here is the only thing that keeps changing loading between the task component and the other component. And to make it even more, I guess, to make it visually look better, I'm going to put here like an h4 tag. Other stuff here, Let's copy paste this a few times. I'm trying to show you kind of the visual of this. Imagine having a lot of content up here. It could be images, could be even video that's loading and playing, and you pause that video, and part of your page you want to switch between different tags or different data, show them something different. Using these partials, you don't have to worry about that video having to reload. You don't have to worry about people that have scrolled down on different parts of your web page lose where they've scrolled down to. So it's a very nice and kind of seamless way of switching these tabs. And so there it is. And you can imagine here, if we wanted a third or fourth, all we need to do is just add another route here. Something that's very original. And we'll add another one of these here. As you can imagine, that word here is what we need to modify here. So over here, something. This is the path we want to use. We'll use the word something. And this is where we would define another component. I won't do it in this case. I'll leave it as other component. In this case, it'll still change our route between tasks, other, and something, but I'm just loading the same exact component.
Right.
The flexibility there. Awesome.
So that's how we can do routing.